Oh, hi. I'm Owlbear Rogue. Welcome to the cave. Well, my, it's starting to get a bit more crowded in here. Welcome to everyone who jumped aboard thanks to Kraken Week. The SS Owlbear is just starting its voyage. We're a very new channel, but my promise to you is you'll be glad you hopped on early. Here's to many adventures ahead. Let's talk about Dungeons and Dragons and a little sketch of a 4th of July one-shot I've thrown together called The 4th of July Fortress. Growing up, the 4th of July was one of my absolute favorite holidays, and fireworks still basically transform me into a 3-year-old who's having the best day of her life. There is video evidence. Maybe in the future I'll plan a one-shot around the quest for me to retrieve that embarrassing footage from the person who likes to show it to everyone. But as for today, let's do a little adventure with some summer, late 80s, early 90s nostalgia. You could run this as a 4th of July one-shot with human kids as the PCs. That's how I'm going to be going through it. Or you could place it in a fantasy setting for a made-up fireworks-centric holiday in a magical world, and the basic plot would work just as well. I'm realizing I'm doing two very low magic, human-centric one-shots in a row here. I promise that's not what I always do. Just a coincidence, but let's run with it for now. It's July 4th, 1993. You have a sunburn. Your nose is at peak freckles. Your tongue is a muddy purple color from eating the 3rd bomb pop you snuck out of the garage freezer today. And your grandma snuck you some money to buy fireworks for you and your friends. It's so hot, you think your flip-flops might actually genuinely be starting to melt to the sidewalk, but you gather your friends and you're just a few blocks away from that magical place, the fireworks stand. Suddenly, you hear a ruckus around the corner. You recognize 2 sounds that make your heart drop into your popsicle-filled belly. One is the snickering of Zach Druffler and his herd of preteen goons. The second sound is your buddy Paul crying. Come on, man. I told you where the fort is. Please give me my firework money back. You exchange looks of horror with your friends. Your 4th of July just got way less relaxing. You should probably try to help Paul. Hopefully avoid losing your own firework money. But the piece of pure catastrophe is if Paul has given away the location of your secret fort clubhouse in the woods, the one you've been working on for months and months, you have a fort to defend. That's the beginning of the adventure. So as always, if you are a player and you want to play this, take it to your DM. Everything from here on out is for DM ears only. Right this way, Dungeon Masters. So I'm going to give you a really loose idea of some ways you can play this scenario out at your table. Pick and choose what you like from it, like a 4th of July potluck, eh? I mentioned in one of my comments on the Kraken video, I'm a real loosey-goosey DM. I very seldom use text from an adventure in its entirety. I like to pick and choose ideas. I really just want a little something to tickle my brain. And so I think the kind of DM who will enjoy my content is going to have a brain that works kind of in a similar way. You all probably do very little prep for your games. You're experienced, you're comfortable, you're good with improving. As I said in my post, you sneeze out NPCs in your sleep and gather them up and have them for breakfast in the morning. But if you are someone whose brain works differently, there is nothing wrong with that. If you want everything really clearly laid out for you in detail, just take this outline and put in the time to put it together. You can always do that. Or there's a million other adventures out there that might be better for you. So let's get into just a few little ideas for you for this adventure. How do we make these characters? I would probably go ahead, if it was me and I was doing this for my friends, I would go ahead and make the PCs. Again, my friends who play my one-shots are busy. They don't have time. They like to be able to just sit down and be handed a character sheet. But do what works for your table. I never create level 1 characters. I never have my players create level 1 characters. But since these are kids, these are like tweens, this is probably the time. I can't believe I'm saying it, but I would make these level 1 characters. I would use the human commoner stat block and modify it as it makes sense. Look at the non-magic classes, unless of course you are going to take this plot and drop it into a magical world. I've picked out 6 classes that I think work and would be fun. I would build one of each of these, and whichever ones your players don't pick can be NPC friends, allies that they need to get together before the big showdown at the fort. Barbarian. Who didn't grow up with the kid who looked really gangly and unassuming, but when they got mad, holy, it was scary. They go absolute apeshit, screaming, fists and spit flying. I had some friends like that. The Artificer, the kid who can make anything out of Legos and a Game Boy, your future engineer. Since this is a fireworks-focused game, maybe they're extra good at making things go boom. The Fighter, this is the kid that is raring to go, again, likes to fight. Maybe they take martial arts class. Their parents enrolled them in judo. Ranger, friend with a big dog, big old good-natured dog that follows them around everywhere. They're really good with a slingshot. Rogue, sneaky kid, hoodie up even though it's 102 degrees out. Bard, maybe they play the electric guitar. Somehow they are super good at charming the grown-ups. Those are just my ideas. You can take or leave all of that, flesh it out yourself. Setting, again, if we're doing this in the real world, suburbs, small town, somewhere where there's woods that kids can make a kick-ass secret fort in, and where parents feel safe with them running around unsupervised pretty much all summer. We've got our hook. Paul is in trouble. He's been bullied out of his fireworks money, and the wimp has given away the location of your super secret fort. This will not stand. Location 1. The bullies are around the corner. You might have a small combat here. Your players might just get dunked on. They might do surprisingly well and scare off the bullies temporarily. Either way, they can't kill them. It's not that kind of adventure. These are just slightly larger kids that are mean to them. But no matter what happens, whether they're run off with their tail between their legs or are triumphantly teasing them, what they're going to make sure your players know is that they know where their camp is. They're taking it over for themselves tonight. While you're watching fireworks and eating hot dogs with your mommies and daddies, they're going to put off fireworks at their new clubhouse. They might even burn it down. I would modify some bandit stat blocks for these guys. Make the main one, Zach Druffler, a little extra. You might even want to mimic the stat blocks of the PCs and just beef them up a little bit so that each bully has its little niche in the group the same way the PCs do. Just make them a little tougher. Your players are going to have to be clever, use magic fireworks, we'll get to that in a second, and have home field advantage in the fort they built to beat them. No matter how this little altercation goes, the next location is the fireworks stand. Hopefully they just decide to continue on to the fireworks stand. If for some reason they forgo the fireworks stand, have one magically, strangely appear where they're pretty sure there wasn't one a second ago. Maybe it's a strange fireworks stand that mysteriously appears, or maybe they make it to the regular fireworks stand and it's very busy, but there's one mysterious figure working there who seems to have all the time in the world for them. They might take notice of Paul's black eye or overhear the group talking about what just happened. They're going to take a special interest in the kids and show them some special fireworks. These are magic fireworks that they're going to use to defend the treehouse. They don't know that yet. They just know these are super cool fireworks that no one else gets to look at. You get to think about what each of these fireworks might do and what it might look like. Personally, I would have one be a magic carpet in case they need to get somewhere really fast. It could make a firework, they light it, it makes a magic carpet kind of thing. They can jump on it, it takes them straight to the treehouse, something like that. I would do one that's like a dragon, and it does that thing like at Bilbo Baggins' party in the Lord of the Rings movie where it and books where, where it flies over. I have read The Lord of the Rings. It flies over the bullies and can give them the frightened condition. Maybe I would do one that looks like a transformer and gives the kid a sparkling firework mech suit that ups their strength and armor for a few rounds. Something like that. You need to know what these look like and what they do. Your players just need to know they're very special and cool looking, and the mysterious NPC needs to warn them that they should only use them at just the right time. These are not normal fireworks. They should not just be used all willy-nilly. Maybe you could do a sparkly unicorn one that lets you blow a kiss at a person and knock them unconscious for a few rounds for that really charismatic kid. You know, all sorts of options. So I would homebrew half dozen of these special fireworks with special abilities. Let each player pick one out. It's up to you. Maybe they pay for it with the money they got from one of their grandmas. Maybe this mysterious fireworks stand NPC just gives it to them. Maybe they have to make a sort of odd Fey-like pact for the fireworks that could lead to a sequel. It's up to you. Next optional stage is the gathering of allies. You can cut this part out if you're trying to make things really quick and really tight, but I like it because it lets you run around this little town they're in a little bit more, and there's some fun possible scenarios here. So like I said, I would take those 6 types of characters, those classes that I talked about, and whichever ones your PCs aren't playing, I would have the others be NPCs, be allies they need to gather. Friends who have also been working on the fort with them that they need to call in to help defend it. And there could be little mini challenges that don't take up too much time for how to get those friends in. Maybe one of them they know is grounded and they're going to have to sneak them out of the house. Maybe one of them is actually like won a 4-H contest or a beauty pageant and is riding on a float in the big 4th of July parade that's going on. So they're having to navigate crowds and get their friends' attention, get them off the float without, being stopped by the grown-ups. Things like that. Maybe one of them is supposed to be at a party, and again, they're having to charm grown-ups to get their friend away. The third location, of course, and the final location is they are headed to the tree fort to defend it. It's starting to be nightfall now. I would create a sweet map for this tree fort to get your players really excited. You could make it. I use Dungeon Fog to make my maps, or you could just Google tree fort. You'll find cool ones that are either free use or that you can get for a small price. It's always nice to throw a penny to your creators who are helping you out. But I would have a cool map for this. The group passes the bullies in the woods, trying to make their way to the fort, trying to find their way based on the directions they got from Paul, or maybe Paul had a little hand-drawn map that they stole from him. Your group needs to sneak past or try to redirect the bullies to buy themselves time. Maybe they get caught by the bullies and they have to run for it, and instead of having some time to prepare at the fort, now the conflict is happening right now and they have lost all their prep time. Then I would use one of my favorite tools. Once they make it to the fort, either a little bit ahead of the bullies or with the bullies right on their tail, I would introduce a random timer. I love using random timers in my games. You can go online, type in random timer. I would set this random timer from between 10 and 30 minutes. So it won't go off any sooner than 10 minutes. Your players, if they've earned it through their actions here, will have at least 10 minutes to prep things at the treehouse. If they have ideas for traps and things like that, they can set them up. And it won't go off any later than 30 minutes. But you as the DM and your players, no one knows for sure. And I would let them know what this timer is and what it means, so they know when the buzzer goes off, that means they hear the bullies approaching in the woods and they have 1 round to finish up whatever it is they were doing and get ready for combat to start. As they're Again, they don't know what these fireworks do. So as they're having this combat, however it pans out with whatever traps and things they've set, whatever hopefully clever ideas they've come up with to defend the fort, they're going to be putting these fireworks off, and tell them what they do once they light it. Don't keep it too much of a mystery. Then let them know what it is it's doing for them as they light it, and hopefully that'll help them have the edge on these characters, these bad guys that are just a little bit older, a little bit meaner than they are. Hopefully, at the end, your players are victorious and the night ends with them all hanging out, best friends forever, at the top of the tree fort, watching the big fireworks over their little town, the rest of the summer stretching out ahead of them with countless yet unwritten adventures, and the bullies running off scared, lessons learned, nursing a few sore spots, and ready to leave them alone for the rest of the summer. This is a very basic sketch of an idea. Again, my way of sharing info with other DMs. That's just the kind of information I like when I'm looking around, and hopefully some of you can find it useful too. As always, any disclaimer with something new I'm putting out: I am a human. I take in different information all the time, different influences, some consciously, some unconsciously. If anything in this adventure resembles someone else's work, it's purely coincidental, not on purpose. I will always give credit when I know credit is due. I'm wishing you all such a happy summer. Go get yourself a bomb pop. And if this felt at all familiar to you, maybe take an Advil as well. As always, thank you for exploring the feminine urge to play Dungeons & Dragons with me, Owlbear Rogue.